Welcome to Behind the Project with me, Shanta Lee Honeycutt, where I am in conversation with creatives and professionals across different mediums or sectors about their lessons and discoveries, along with a fun, unrelated bonus question. Next up, I'm talking with Kate Belew, who is an author, poet, and witch, and she describes her work as being at the crossroads of creativity and magic. So let's dip into this conversation with Kate. We're back and we're here with Kate. And so, Kate, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself before we just jump in?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you, and thank you so much, Shanta, for having me. I'm so excited. My name is Kate Belew, listeners. I am a writer, a poet, a witch living in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in Michigan. I always like to talk about that just because I feel like these are the two places that I call home, and I think that place influences my work so much. My work is a whole bunch of different things, but it mostly all exists at the crossroads of creativity and magic and ritual. And I feel like that sort of place, that sort of threshold space is really what and where I love to be. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Kate. So why don't we start with the first question? And it's really a question about whether it's a project that you led or were a part of or spearheaded and started. I know you have a newsletter, you do workshops, you do all sorts of amazing things. What is a project? And it also can be something that's in progress that you encountered and you had this wow, like I didn't expect that.
Yeah, so I am actually in the production part right now of finishing a book that I've written called Word Witch, which I'm just really, really excited about. I feel like it's kind of a culmination moment of a lot of the teaching and writing that I've been doing for the last 5, 6, 7 years here. So it will be coming out in October, and I'm super excited about it. But I have learned so much about the publishing process through working with this book. And I've always wanted to be a writer. I've always wanted to write books. This is like such a dream come true. And I've spent a lot of time in the writing world, studying poetry, writing poetry, putting together poetry books in the newsletter, like you mentioned, in workshops. And I've co-written a book with a dear friend, Shelby Bundy, but I've never undergone the process of writing a book alone before. So it's just like the world has been broken open for me over the past year about this. And I got to work with an agent, Kara Rhoda, who's just an amazing agent. So that was really like the start of the learning, putting together a proposal, taking that proposal to publishers. The book went to auction and like learning about that whole process, the contract process, and then just like the writing of the book. And when you were asking about process, that is the part that really feels like the most interesting tension to me, is writing into like the shape of a book and really learning what the shape of a book feels like and the sort of stamina and commitment to the long project. And I feel like that has just been such a rich place. And you're nodding, and I know that listeners can't see this, but do you know what I'm talking about when I say that sort of like the long thing?
You know what? A book, or actually a lot of creative projects, which is partly another inspiration for this short run podcast, is you're entering into a relationship. Now, sometimes it might be a dysfunctional relationship with that project, depending, right? We all know that. But, right? Like you could say you're entering into a relationship with the long process.
And it's like a living and breathing thing. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this about projects, but it's never the thing that you thought it was going to be. Like there's always a surprise. And
yes,
it's such a beautiful part of it.
Yeah, it becomes its own organic thing. And speaking of, my next question for you is, what would you do differently, even though it sounds like you're still very much in the process and still in the middle of? Is there anything you would do differently in approaching, and maybe it's too soon to ask, but I'm curious.
Yeah, it's wonderful now because the part that I'm in is it's been all laid out. So I'm like looking at the book layout, but I've undergone all the rounds of edits and all of this, which it was really an interesting thing. I mean, I got my first edits back and I think I deleted 15,000 words. And there was no way that I could have been able to write the final 10,000 words in that first edit. Like it needed to sit so long. And I mean, just in the world of publishing, like they have due dates, they have timelines, marketing wants a witch book by October. Like I get it, but it's funny because some things can really only be solved by time. But I was able to write the 10,000 words that I needed to finish it after it had sat for a few months. And so I feel like now knowing that about my process, it's really helpful. And like I know the sort of relationship that needs to be cultivated with an outline, I think. And like you were saying, that sort of relationship with the project. And so I feel like for my next books, for my next projects, I don't know that I would have ever been able to do it differently in reflection because I think I could only have learned it by doing, but I will honor that relationship as a changeable thing in the beginning and not try to force myself into the spaces that I set out to do because I was kind of like, well, it has to be like this because that's what I said in April. And so now I've got to write that, but it's like, that's just not a realistic way to write a book. And now I know that the book will tell me what needs to change, I think. So that sort of like listening.
I tell that to my students all the time, actually. Like, it's okay. You're supposed to, like graduate students who are working on their manuscripts, you're supposed to shift your idea and break up with it or take it into a different direction. It happens. That's how it becomes organic, like you said. All right. Last wild card question. If your life were streaming on Netflix or any of the streaming services, what would it be called? What is it? A show? Is it a movie? Is it a documentary? What would it be called? And what would be the main flash synopsis of it?
Ooh, my life? Wow. Okay. That's a great question. Let's think. Well, I mean, Word Witch is a catchy title. I liked it for the book. It could be this limited series, HBO Max. Word Witch or Witch That I Am, maybe. Either or. That would be good. Yeah, I could see it as a limited series. And maybe the flash synopsis of it is small town girl moves to New York City, reestablishes relationship with poetry and enchantment, and discovers that the path appears under her feet.
I love it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. And is there anything else you would like to add?
If you want to write with me, you can find me on Instagram at Kate Belew, and I send out weekly Substack prompts and a newsletter. They're free. They're there for everyone, whether you think you're a writer or not. I'm here to tell you that you are. So hopefully I will see you there.
Thank you again for joining us, and you can learn more about Kate and her practice by visiting the links provided in the show notes, including a link to her debut book, Word Witch. I encourage you to keep thinking about the lessons and stories of all of your projects. What's behind your project?